Happy New Year to everyone once
Happy New
again.
Year. Thank you.
I have a short casual introduction for Bisera, which I am gonna give quickly, so bear with me. Bisera helps mid-sized companies make better use of the AI their teams are already experimenting with. She helps turn that early work into scalable systems that improve productivity and create long-term value. Um, and with that, Bisera, over to you. This is very interesting. Looking forward.
Super. Thanks, Manan. Thank you all for joining. I am going to tie a simple premise that every organization needs junior employees to the broader concept of that organization needs to be intentional about cultivating connection in the age of AI. We all heard this over and over that it takes village to raise a child. It hasn't been said in the same sentence, though, that those children do grow up and they improve the village eventually. That relationship between village and children is reciprocal. And as the village invests in its young, the young, once they grow, they bring fresh energy, new ideas, capabilities that the village did not have before. And that same dynamic applies to organizations. Junior employees that organization cultivates today will be the ones who carry that organization forward and transform it in the years to come. There's been this somewhat cynical, misguided strategy that's been advocated recently. The logic is that junior employees, they perform routine tasks. AI performs routine tasks faster and cheaper. Thus, we should eliminate junior positions and pocket the savings. And that math seems obvious and the logic seems very clever, but it's really, really wrong. It's wrong because it really trades the long-term adaptive capacity for short-term cost reduction. And in many ways, this is amputation of growth opportunities. And really, it eliminates this mutual beneficial relationship that it takes that makes organizations thrive. This approach really misses on two related things. That primary opportunity that AI provides is not to replace people, but it's really to reallocate their focus. And then the second part of this is that it really eliminates the very people who extract the most value from an AI investment, because individuals with lower experience are the ones who would benefit the most from AI tools. AI helps them build new capabilities and manage complex tasks faster than it has done for any prior generation of workers. And this path from entry level to a valued contributor is much shorter than it's ever been. We all know or have experienced that junior employees really are more typically more innovative, and they are more in tune with the new generation of customers. They bring digital fluency that makes them natural translators between AI capability and business need. They don't typically sit idle, they do things, they experiment, and they also question things or processes that everyone else takes for granted or takes it as immutable. And I think the key piece of this is they are the future managers and leaders. The organizations that invest in raising them would benefit from that investment because they would make the organizations smarter, faster, and more adaptive. That would be without that it would be without them. And with all the benefits, there's a bit of a tension that AI brings that needs to be highlighted. Individual adoption, AI adoption, really fragments organization in a very, very specific way. Every person becomes more self-sufficient for their own immediate tasks. So essentially, it removes or reduces the need for engagement. I am super, my box, and my chatbot really can do anything I want. So every conversation that in the past I would turn to my colleague sitting next to me, I really just now direct to chatbot to have instant information. And so all those informational networks that tie organization together, the moment in the hallway, the random conversation about this and that, really they quietly atrophy with AI tools being easily available to all of us. And so organization really, the point is really the organization will not maintain itself. It does take an effort. So the employees really, the junior employees cannot become a part of the organization if they don't engage with anybody, and the organization cannot help raise them if they don't know how to connect. So really, if we don't pay attention, those silos will grow. They will not get smaller. Um, so then how do we build that connection? How do we build a connective tissue that brings us all together? There was an article recently in Harvard Business Review by a couple of strategists from AWS that highlights two different organizational models, Tin Man and Octopus. Tin Man is the model that we are familiar with, control, command. We know exactly what to do because everything is relatively predictable. And it's really built in the industrial era for the complicated systems. They are they're parts, but they behave predictably. Now we are part of a complex system that behave more like oceans. So small disturbance ripple outward in quite unpredictable ways. And this complexity, rigid control does not work for it. It fails. What works instead is the capacity to sense change and to respond quickly and to learn continuously. And the Octopus organization is built for this reality that succeeds through distributed intelligence and ongoing adaptation rather than centralized control. So the octopus metaphor captures what really actually works, that the arms, they can think and act independently, yet they work in concert with the other arms. And tapping the intelligence of their people, they integrate range of efforts quite naturally and gracefully. And this distributed intelligence gives teams autonomy to experiment and decide within guardrails. And distributed intelligence operates through the spreading mechanism that propagates successful practices from one team to another. The spreading requires human connection. You can't pull, you can't propagate successful practice without human connection. So the teams, you do so by observing other teams, talking to them, and being curious about what is working, how they make this happen. And the spreading is really relational. The spreading of information is relational. Embracing, so it really by embracing AI usage, we all use it and we all benefit individually, but celebrating how we do so and celebrating experimentation and all those little details create conversation. So if you show me what you built, then that becomes a connection point. Innovation is visible, and that sparks curiosity, which then drives people to seek each other out. So pairing junior and senior employees isn't optional. It is how work happens. And AI can accelerate individual learning, but it cannot provide institutional context, professional judgment, or any tacit knowledge that transfers only through relationships. So cross-functional AI projects, they force departments to collaborate. They create situations where silos break down and we accomplish shared goals. So it is a deliberate friction, deliberate action. So the octopus model does recognize the connective tissue must be intentionally built because AI will naturally erode it. We are not we are not hoping that connection will happen organically. We actually need to intentionally architect for the connection, which means building specific mechanisms into how the organization operates. So learning rituals, like retrospectives or demo days, internal showcases create recurrent touch points for human exchange. Communities of practice bring together people who explore AI across the organization, building horizontal relationships that cut across vertical silos. There's also consultation mechanisms, so designated office hours and designated go-to people for specific domains. They create human alternative to chatbot, and they answer questions that benefit from judgment and context. Also, having shared metrics and dashboards make team progress visible to other teams, which creates natural curiosity about what's working elsewhere. And then rotating assignments or shadowing programs create also temporary cross-pollination that builds relationships and spreads tacit knowledge. And so my final note or final point is really that primary challenge is not technological, but really is organizational.
Thank you so much. This is very interesting, and I'm hoping we can have a I'm hoping we'll have people on both sides of this, and we'll get a debate going this month. Are there does everyone already agree with Bisera? I hope not. Doesn't make for fun conversations. So Keith, I hope it
Right.
does.
Please argue.
So, since I am the designated arguer, I,
Mhm.
I will pose some counterpoints.
Please.
Because I've heard things like what you're saying before. And the first thing I would say is your real argument has nothing to do with quote unquote AI or even technology. You're dealing with a fundamental problem that all organizations have.
Yeah.
Junior employees have to be matured into senior employees. But in every organization, especially since in a world where people change jobs quickly, the incentive to grow your junior employees is lacking. I've been at this for decades, and this has been true for decades. It was true when I was a junior employee. Um, and I was lucky. I had a couple of people who decided to mentor me along my
Right.
early career, and that
There you
made an
go.
enormous difference. It had nothing to
Right.
do with technology. Now, I will
Correct.
say that technology generally can be, because as all sorts of technical assistance has come online over the decades, and I'm going back to the 1970s here, okay?
Mhm.
It has always been a double-edged sword because it has always enabled junior employees to be treated worse because a senior employee with a powerful tool has less incentive to try and in the near term, teach a junior employee because they don't need them as much.
Mhm.
They may need them eventually to be senior employees, but that's not their problem.
Right.
So the real issue here is nothing to do with AI.
Correct.
And in general, you could say technology has the opportunity to exacerbate or help the problem, but it is a problem of how do I motivate the development of my junior employees, especially in a universe where those junior employees are only going to be with me it takes 10 years for a junior employee to become a senior employee. That's real. And I see resumes. I go to headhunters and ask for experienced people, and they bring me people with 5 years experience. That's not experienced. It takes 8 to 10 years to become truly experienced.
Mhm.
People are not with a company that long. So the incentives to grow people that's a problem. It's been a problem for decades. And
Mhm.
so so if you want to talk about how AI, or quote unquote AI, and by that you really mean chatbots. Remember, AI is many different things and with drastically different ramifications. You're talking about chatbot technology here, primarily. You could give some specific use cases of how that could be used, and that
Mhm.
would strengthen your argument. But this is not what you're talking about. I've seen a presentation like this 30 years ago,
Mhm.
from organization and management people who were dealing with
Mhm.
the problem of How do you grow junior employees? What is the
Mhm.
motivation for growing junior
Mhm.
employees? It's
Mhm.
lacking.
Mhm. I have a simple point. I think in my head, it's not really raising junior employees. I think the relationship is mutual because we learn something from junior people as well. And so I think that's the incentive. What do we learn from them as much as we pass something to them? And also the skill of training somebody is a skill that I benefit from. Me mentoring somebody is a skill for me. As the same way they mentor me back. So I think it's this mutual relationship. I think it's being amplified rather than being one directional. It's not us to them, it's both ways.
So I just want to
So
say,
yes, I agree. It's not
I'll,
technology,
I'll
right? It's
shut up
all
after this.
human.
I'm sorry, again.
Mhm.
I'll shut up after this and let other people talk. I completely agree with you. These are all skills. They have been skills for decades. I learn all the time by supporting junior employees. They
Yes.
are touching things, and I use them as my education.
Hmm.
I've been
Hmm.
doing this for years.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
And yeah.
that's a principle that I've learned. Making that a general principle that
Mhm.
organizations adopt or are able to adopt is a different issue, and that's the one you're trying
Yes.
to
Right.
address.
But it also goes back to just it's a human thing. It's so whether the organization embodies this human idea that we all benefit from another, that maybe it's a learning for organizations. Maybe there's a way for us to instill that into organizations we're part of, rather than just being this junior employees are this or that, or Gen Z something, right? Like there's all this anti next generation something, right? So it's more, is it not, is it really just how do you carry that notion into the organization you're part of?
Quick note. I'm a baby boomer. I was once a junior employee, so it's not
Correct. And you said you were lucky. There are a couple of people that took
yeah.
care of you or embraced you and all that. So I think that is really how most of this works. There's a couple of people who recognize the value and they do what needs to be done, and the rest it just bumbles around without knowing anything, right?
We do have more questions. I think there's
Yes.
Marcus, Anthony, Andre. So Marcus, why don't you go first?
Okay, thanks. I wanted to agree that also this is an old problem, the
Hmm.
problem of connecting across an enterprise,
Hmm.
even among peers, where the octopus model is also valuable, and then to train
Hmm.
employees. The problem has been recognized for a long time. In particular for innovation, books have been written about that. Steve Jobs is famous for forcing serendipity by having everybody go to the same cafeteria, the same bathroom, the same central mail boxes and so on, so that people would run into each other. MIT has this history of this building a long time ago where a lot of innovation happened because people ran into each other. Um, and I think I think one important thing is it's gotten much worse as people work remotely, where you work at home or somewhere and you only check in for your meetings, and otherwise there is no serendipity of running into each other, and therefore these kinds of conversations around water coolers or in the cafeteria
Doesn't
don't
happen.
happen unless you explicitly force them somehow, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's very valuable to think about this. I do believe there is some change with AI. That's a step, not just incremental. A good example is in the legal profession, where they used to literally use 100 junior employees, junior lawyers, to paralegals and to go through a case, for example, because they had to. They had to read this in parallel. These positions essentially have gone away because you can have an AI chatbot or in past some NLP enabled technology read through everything and summarize it, and you didn't need
That's
those
right.
people anymore. So positions have gone away, or the need for these kinds of tasks have gone away.
Hmm.
And there's, because of that, I believe that the positions are not needed. And I think there is some need to very explicitly provide entry-level positions where people can learn, just like you said, and become experienced on the job, and then also through that connect with their
Yes.
peers and their mentors and so on.
Hmm. Agree.
And
Anthony?
so if you have, when you say explicit, so maybe that's a question to you,
Yes.
explicit, how do we do this, for example, with remote work? What are some of the techniques to make sure that these connections of shared visibility, learning rituals, etc.,
Yes, right. Yeah.
are actually enabled as people more and more work outside the office.
Well, I think it's not just connecting via Slack or connecting via Zoom. There's probably other touch points that are deliberately inserted, and everybody's there, everybody's weak, everybody's something. So show and tells that everybody needs to present something, or those dashboards that not necessarily celebrate, but highlight what people are going through, what's being measured, what do we measure. But I think that the intentional visibility into how people work and what comes out of it, whether good or bad. I think even as also being transparent enough that stuff that did not go well should be talked through, right? So I think it just removes the stigma of anything and removes it. There has to be some kind of incentive to bring people to connect. What's the incentive? Are we evaluated on collaboration? Maybe there's like implicit. Your score, your job is evaluated based on how effectively you collaborate. Maybe there's something that really is baked into incentives besides just generally making things available. If you make things available, people come or not come, if they're interested or not, right? So if you don't just based on their interest and their curiosity, there must be some other way of incentivizing people to connect, because the benefit is to everybody. It's not just for the sake of doing it, right? It's not just for the sake of connecting. So I think there's many different ways, but it really has to be intentional. It's not just randomly assuming people will do it on their own. Some people will,
I've
right? Like
basically
obviously.
I've been
And
forcing
on
people
that
to
note,
chit chat.
sorry, just want to make sure everyone gets their word in. So Anthony, sorry,
Thank
you
you.
had your hand raised for a while, you and then Andre. And I would request, like, let's just hear them out before we hand the mic back to Bisera then. And there are people hopefully on the other side too. But go on, Anthony. I can keep talking too. Oh my God.
Anthony, you're
When you
unmuted.
speak on mute, it's a little hard to hear you.
That does make it difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So one
Slight.
question, we're all doing more with less. Recent quarters, engineering leaders, other leaders, doing more with less. Co-pilots, replacing functionalities. Look, I'm right there with you. Cutting off your nose to spite your face is problematic with the loss of these entry-level early career professionals. But when you present this framework to decision makers, people who are making decisions about headcount, have you had an aha moment in overcoming resistance when you've presented this framework?
I think
And
yes.
before
You
she
have
answers,
yes.
I'm
Yes,
going to
please.
request that we get
Yes.
Andre's point in to
Yes.
this. I want to make sure everyone is done.
Yes.
Yes, Andre, go.
I guess focusing specifically, so the team, there's a number of points here. There's the connections and motivating curiosity, but focusing for me more narrowly on the point about replacing junior employees with, or the belief that you can replace junior employees with AI, at least in the cybersecurity space. I feel like that belief was like core to the business a year ago, and there's been a reset.
Yeah.
So for example, I mean, I can't even count the number of companies that launched, replace your operations center with AI, and they're all now talking about human in the middle. And so AI, and we're talking mostly Copilot, but in the broader industry, we're also talking about automation and orchestration. There's a sense that you actually need the human to the points you made, Bisera, to that thinking and being curious and accelerating what they do with the support of large language models. So I guess for me, I've already seen the trough and now the reset from a again from a cybersecurity perspective. So that was. my little bit.
So I think what
Okay,
you
I'll
say.
let you take the mic and also close this now because we have the last minute. So yeah,
Okay, so
over
yeah,
to
so
you,
just quickly,
Vaishara.
I think that what you just said, Andre, it highlights this sort of it's iterative cycle. We all learn together. So this is not this is the way it is, and then everybody behaves that same way. So I think we all collectively learn from this. The last year was that was what's what in a fashion now it's actually coming back, not necessarily full circle, but realization that humans do are required. And if we don't have them today, who's going to be the senior person tomorrow? So I think that is the aha moment that comes to some of those people that like, yeah, I can just cut them off, but who's going to be your senior people tomorrow? So if you just remove all that layer.
And I guess if you have 30 seconds for William also, but sorry, Anthony also.
Yeah, so I was just saying that the half of that I've seen is this realization that junior people today are senior people tomorrow. So if you don't cultivate today, then who's the person tomorrow, right? Like, yeah, you can hire, but that gets more expensive, and there's all this other side effects that you are hit with if you don't take care of it today. So if you just think this box today, then yes, of course. But I think a lot of organizations need to have this longer view, longer vision of a year from now, 2 years from now. What are we going to do? So I think when you take that into account, then yeah, it becomes a little bit more obvious that having junior people is really super valuable.
This has been really interesting. I'm glad this
Thanks.
debate has started, and I'm looking forward to others giving a longer talk on this subject. Just for the sake of ending things on time, so that people always
Thank you.
join, knowing that we'll end
Super.
on time. Thank you so much, Vaisera.
Thank you all. Thank you.
I know
Thanks.
there were a lot of opposing views, and thank you for bravely taking them. Looking forward to more debate here. Have a great year, everyone. We'll be in touch, of
Thanks.
course.
Thank
Thank you.
you.